Hello everybody, and welcome to chapter 14 of our Python 3 Basics tutorial video series. And in this video what we're going to be talking about is the basics of writing to a file. So it should be noted that there are actually two methods for saving data to a file, and those methods are writing and appending. Writing to a file is going to just write only that data to a file. This means if there was anything in that file originally, it will be gone. It will be overwritten, basically. The other method is append, and if you use that, then append is just going to add to whatever was previously there. So if you want to retain the data and you want to just kind of grow a file, then you would use append. Whereas if you just want to save some information to a file, say you're saving a picture, for example, you're going to write data. You're not going to append picture data. You're going to write because you want a new picture, right? So those are the differences. So first we're going to show writing to a file, then we'll show appending, and then we'll actually show how to read from a file. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So let's say we have a variable called writeMe, and writeMe is equal to some example text. And this is what we want to save to our file. Now, the way that we start this process is we're going to say save file equals open, and open is it's a built-in function to Python, and the first parameter we're going to add is going to be the file name, and we're going to call this file example write.txt, and then comma, and then here is where you specify the method that you want to open this file with, and we're going to use W for write. And this is where we define whether we're writing, appending, or reading. But we'll get to the other two in a moment. So this is writing. So save file, we open this file with the intention to write. At this point, if this is with the intention to write, we will have cleared that file completely. It will be overwritten with nothing to start. Next, we're going to do save file dot write. And now we want to write to this file writeMe. And then the next part is very important. If we just left it here, we will have actually written this data to the file, but the problem is we haven't actually closed the file. So it's kind of like if you were editing like Notepad, and you wrote in some data, but then you never saved it and closed it. The data wouldn't be there necessarily. Now with a programming language like this, it wrote the data, but it hasn't necessarily saved it yet, and it's certainly still editing, quote unquote, the file. So if later on you tried to write some more data maybe to it down the road, or even read from the file, you would get an error because you never finished what you were doing to this file. So you have to do save file dot close, and that will close the file. Now it's important to note that so far there is literally nothing, this file doesn't exist yet. So when you open a file, if it exists, it will clear the file. If it doesn't exist, it's going to create it. And that's going to be true with append as well. The only time it's not really true is really with like read or something. But anyway, moving on. So now what we can do is we can save and run this. And that's it. If we come over to our directory here, so we have all of the files here, writing to a file, and then this is our file that we just wrote, we can bring that up, and that opens up a notepad and it says example text. And that's it. We wrote to this file. So, writing to a file, very simple. You just need to do basically these three things. You do open, file name, and then the method of opening, W for write. Then we're going to use dot write and write whatever we want to write. So the parameter of dot write is the data that you want to write. And then just don't forget to do save file dot close. This is really important if you're using write. Append, it's not as important, and then read, it's definitely not as important. So anyway, that's going to conclude writing to a file. In the next video, we're going to be doing appending to a file. So that's going to be part 15, and then part 16 will be reading from the file. So that concludes this. Stay tuned to the next video.